Truthseekers is a viewer-supported show. Wonderful people like you who enjoy this show send pledges in the form of super chats, super stickers, super thanks, PayPal or Cash App. Instructions for how to help are in the description. You can also join our Patreon, and for as little as $1 a month you can get extra content. Patreon supporters get a backstage pass, early access to all our production videos before they are distributed publicly, Stephen Campion's music, private writings, a monthly show journal, and more. You can also become a YouTube channel member for $5 a month. A YouTube membership includes all of the Patreon benefits, plus a special members badge, priority reply to video comments, and the live chat, plus a monthly members-only video. We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors, for supporting Truthseekers. Thank you for your generosity and support. Truthseekers is a viewer-supported show. Now there's a great way to support these broadcasts and show your support. Please be sure and check out our merchandise store. Links to our 2 merchandise online stores are in the links to this video or podcast. The Amazon storefront ships super quickly in the United States, Great Britain, and in many more places. Amazon may not ship to your country or location. If that's the case, hit our second merchandise link in the description and visit our Redbubble storefront. Merchandise from our Redbubble storefront ships worldwide, but may take longer than Amazon. We've got a great deal of super high quality merchandise for you to choose from, including t-shirts, phone cases, sweatshirts, and even pillows. The feedback from our products have been overwhelmingly great. Quality products and fast shipping. People all over the world are buying some merchandise and showing their support of the show. Praise the cash! Praise the cash! Praise the cash! We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors who are buying some merchandise and helping us to continue this journey. Thanks for being here. This is Truthseekers with your host, Stephen Campion. Please rate, like and comment on our videos or podcasts. If you are listening to an audio podcast, please rate us 5 stars to help us rise in the search rankings. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, comment and subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to an audio podcast, we love and appreciate you listeners, but you are missing the live tapings. All our shows are recorded live with video feed. We'd love you to come be a part of our live broadcasts and tapings for the podcast. Head on over to YouTube, click the search tool, the little magnifying glass, put Truthseekers, one word in the search bar, and hit enter. You'll see a strange and mysterious guy with sunglasses. That means you found the channel. Go there, smash the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to receive up-to-date info on our YouTube channel. We welcome you to be a part of our live taping and our chat room during the live broadcasts. Seek the truth. Speak the truth. This is Truthseekers. Truthseekers.
Greetings and salutations, friends, and welcome back. You are all most welcome here. I'm not even quite sure where to begin tonight, but I'm going to give it a try here. There's a famous poster. I put it up tonight. I want to believe, and I do. I still want to believe, but finding so many con artists, fakers, hoaxers, fake stories, or even just people carefully crafting their stories and purposefully leaving out evidence that the story may in fact be fake is just too much for me to take anymore. Most roads in this UFO thing lead nowhere. You'll chase your shadows for years and never come to the truth. But along the way, you will find lies heaped upon lies and fake stories galore. Or like a dog chasing his tail, you'll just never get anywhere. And that is where I have found myself lately, and why I want to cover other topics and get away from this UFO insanity. The truth is, I suppose, this journey and the revelation that many or most of these stories are indeed fake has taken its toll. It's taken its toll on my belief, or my wanting to continue to believe. On this journey, I have become a hero to some, and in truth, a villain to others. And here, my friends, is the strange place where I find myself. All I wanted to do was share my journey, and I have been sharing it with the world for years. So tonight, we'll once again be talking about Bob Lazar, a story I've been following heavily since 1989. Bob Lazar told an incredible story of being a scientist and working on alien spacecraft at Area 51. And wow, what an extraordinary story it is. But is the story really true? I used to think so. I loved this story growing up. But the more you dig into the story and dig into Bob Lazar, the more evidence you find that Lazar is a complete and total fraud. And by the way, it is 100% verifiable that Bob Lazar is a convicted pimp. I'm going to tell you something that you should already know, folks. You can't trust anything a pimp says. Pimps lie and manipulate people. That's what pimps do. And friends, high-level scientists don't just wake up one day and think, you know what? I'm going to start a whorehouse. Scientists don't do that, friends. But maybe, just maybe, people like Bob Lazar who lie and manipulate people do. The lies? Well, the lies start right at the start of the story. The lies begin with his education. Bob Lazar was not a scientist. His educational claims have been found to be completely fake. From his fake undergraduate degree from Pacifica University, which is a degree mill, where you buy fake degrees, to hang on your wall and fool your stupid friends with. Friends, prestigious schools like Caltech and MIT don't let people into master's programs if all they have is taking a few electronics classes at their local community college, and they have a fake bachelor's degree that they bought online. I verified this with both MIT and Caltech admissions people. Both stated there's no way Bob would get into any master's program at either school with a fake degree, a fake bachelor's degree from a degree mill. Further, Caltech never even had a master's degree program in electronics technology, as Lazar claimed at the time he claimed to go there. If you get a master's degree, also, you have to write a master's thesis. No one can find either of Bob's master's thesis. And I've challenged Jeremy Corbell and Bob Lazar to post copies of his master's thesis. They haven't yet, and they won't. Because those master's theses, my friends, don't exist. He never wrote them because he was never in a master's degree program. And just to be clear, friends, no one writes a master's thesis and can't produce a copy. It's incredibly hard work, and some people spend years on their master's thesis. The fact that he doesn't have copies of or cannot produce copies, to me, is 100% proof his educational claims are all fabrications. And that's besides just calling the schools and checking and finding out he never went to any of them. But wait, the government wiped his background and education to discredit him, some say. Well, there is also no mention of Lazar in any Caltech or MIT yearbook. So for us to believe, like Michael Schrack correctly pointed out, that the men in black, they would have had to crawl into every dusty attic, every garage, every storage locker of every single person who went to those schools at the time Lazar claimed to. They'd have to steal out the yearbooks mentioning Lazar and replace them with fakes, deleting every mention of him. Folks, that's not just improbable. Doing that, I believe, would be impossible. Well, wait. Maybe he just lied about his education to get a good job. Fair point. But it still means that the entire story of his starts with a lie. The whole story starts with him being a scientist. Friends, he is not now, nor has he ever been a scientist. Though he is a convicted pimp. Being a scientist requires at least one real degree. Lazar does not have any college degrees, unless you count the fake bachelor's degree he bought from a degree mill. No, Bob was never a scientist, but there is ample and convincing evidence that Bob Lazar was just an electronics technician who worked on radiation health monitoring equipment. But wait, Bob worked as a scientist at Los Alamos. His name was in the phone book, after all. Yes, it was, and next to his name were the initials KM, which stands for Kirk Meyer. At the time, Kirk Meyer provided subcontractors to that lab, but they only ever supplied low-level technicians, like electronics technicians and things like that. Kirk Meyer never provided physicists or scientists to Los Alamos, not when Bob claimed to work there and never at any other time either. They only supplied low-level technicians to these labs, not scientists. Bob also recounted installing a satellite dish at Los Alamos in one interview. Folks, senior staff level physicists would not waste their time installing satellite dishes. Who does that? Electronics technicians do. And that's what Bob was, a low-level electronics technician. John Lear also talked about Bob Lazar having a contract to work on alpha monitors, radiation health monitoring equipment. Folks, physicists do not generally do electronics technician work. They're doing much more important things. Electronics technicians do that. So that is more evidence Bob was not a scientist, but an electronics technician. But what about S4? Folks, there is ample and convincing evidence, including recent flyovers, with pictures that prove that there is literally nothing there. Bob claimed that he rode a bus there from Area 51 proper, but friends, you'll hear tonight with the evidence that we present that there is barely a road there, and no bus could ever make it through the sand, the rocks, and that dirt road that lead to the area he claimed the ultra-secret base housing the flying saucers was at. So tonight, friends, we're going to be sharing an incredibly important interview. I think this is the most important interview I've heard on this case in a decade. This interview was conducted by Victor Calliero, who you may remember we've had as a guest here previously. One of the most popular guests I've ever had because the research he presented as a guest here was incredible. And tonight he is letting me share this interview with all of you. Victor conducted this incredible interview with former Area 51 security guard Fred Dunham. And I want to thank Victor for allowing us to share it and talk about it, because I truly think this is the most important interview about the Bob Lazar case ever. I feel it conclusively proves that Bob Lazar was never in Area 51, and his stories about S4 were just that, fabricated fantasies with no basis in reality. And you see, unlike Bob Lazar, the claims made by Fred Dunham can be verified. He was indeed employed as a security guard at Area 51 during the 1980s and early 1990s. We can find evidence of this in the form of records he could provide, but also in court documents. Because you see, sadly, Mr. Dunham was one of those Area 51 employees that sued the government over health problems caused by the now infamous Area 51 burn pits. As an Area 51 security guard, Mr. Dunham had access to and had been to all areas of the base. This man is a real and credible source. And tonight we will hear some amazing evidence from this man that Bob Lazar not only didn't work at Area 51, but that he never, ever even stepped foot on the base. Further, we will hear that the location Bob Lazar claimed to be the ultra secret S4 base, well, friends, there is nothing there. And there was nothing there at the time Bob Lazar claimed to have worked there on alien flying saucers. So I'm going to put my fair use banner up, even though we do have permission to share this incredible interview tonight. But I do want to mention that I'm going to play the interview, and unlike usually when we play, something from someone, we stop it every so often, and quite honestly, I find myself just stopping the video for the purposes of fair use and the algorithm. But in this case, Victor Caliero has given us total permission to air this interview, do commentary on it, talk about it. So I'm really going to try to not video. And by the way, I'm a terrible show host. I forgot to put a link to the interview in the description. I will do that as soon as I possibly can after we get the interview, the taped interview started sharing here. So I'm going to try to not interrupt very much. It's an hour interview, but really the first 40 minutes is what is important to Bob Lazar. The last 20 minutes or so of the interview, and I encourage you to listen to the whole thing, are about Mr. Dunham's problems, health problems, and fight with the government over these burn pits at Area 51. So let's see, friends. We are going to share my screen, make sure I share my audio. 1 second. Okay. And thanks once again to Victor Caliero. This really is an incredibly important interview. Let's get into it, friends. This is the evidence that Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp, and Bob Lazar don't want you to hear. A real Area 51 security guard who worked there all through the time that Bob claimed to have worked there for a very short time. This man worked there for 10 years. This interview is incredible, friends. Let's get into it.
Hello?
Fred, can you hear me?
Yeah, gotcha.
Cool. Yeah, my name's Victor. I'm doing a bit of a independent documentary, if you like, about Area 51, Bob Lazar, things like that, Papoose.
Yeah.
So I've heard. Yep, go on.
I'm aware. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I heard that you worked out in Area 51, and
Yeah, I worked there for about 10 years.
10 years.
Mm-hmm.
What time period did you work out there?
Excuse me now?
What years did you work out there?
From 1981 to 92.
Oh, fair while. And what were you? You were a security guard, I think. I think I read that right.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's correct. Yeah. And the company that had the contract out there ended up getting a security contract.
Uh-huh. And I think I saw somewhere where you had a license to kill.
Well, that's all a bunch of hype, I think. However, that was the rumor.
Yeah.
That's all. 98% of everything that you've heard about this place is if 1% of it, I don't know, if realistically, if 5% of it was real, it would be amazing. So I mean, it's so much has been made out of this place.
Yeah.
That it's overhyped beyond belief, and of course that's a product of the way that everything is nowadays. Everything is either full pedal to the metal or it's nothing. You know, I mean, and this has turned into something that, I mean, it's ridiculous. I met with George. I met with George Knapp.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And this is after I ceased working out there, but I met with George Knapp in, I don't know, 1994 or something like this, you know, right when the thick of this Bob Lazar crap was happening. And I says, we met for breakfast at the Pepper Mill on the strip, and he dropped in and we sat down and I'm talking to him and he says, well, I got to know who you are, you know, if you're really real. I showed him all these credentials that I had. And he says, well, he says, I believe you now. He says, and I told him, I says, look, I says, because this George Knapp guy is a character that has been in Las Vegas news forever.
Yeah.
I mean, when he first started, he started at that station, that CBS affiliate, and he's like, you grew up with this cat, you know, so I'm sitting down with him, I'm talking to him man to man, and I told him, George, I says, you got to protect your reputation here. I says, you're going off the line with this stuff about UFOs and spacecraft, and I says, and you are so off base. I says, we have the biggest belly laugh about you every day of the week that we have to put up with the hoopla that you know. And I says, we have. I says, you are a joke. And I says, I told him, I says, for your own benefit, I says, you need to stop this because this is going to turn around and bite you in the butt. You know.
Yeah. What did he say to that?
Well, he says, well, you know, I believe Bob and blah blah blah, you know, and he says, do you know this other guy's name? And I says, yeah, I know this guy's name, you know, and he says, well, well, what do you think of that guy? I says, well, I says, I know one thing. I says he's involved in selling bootleg cable boxes, because he's an electronic engineer, you know, and at and at the time, you know, that was happening. A lot of those guys who were in the know, and they had a lot of little things they did on the side for direct access to satellite dishes, direct access to the cable, beating the cable encryption, you know, all kinds of, you know. So yeah, the guy that George Knapp said, do you know this guy? I said, yeah, I know him. You know, he's a technician and he runs a black market cable business, you know. so, and he looked at me and, so I
Do
told him,
you,
I says, you're so off base. I says, yeah, if
Yeah, thanks for the save. I do this all the time. Friends, I'm having nasal issues and I've been coughing and hacking a lot, so I mute it to be able to cough. I really need a physical cough button, but thank you very much. So what I was saying, all you missed is that I said, here we see more evidence that Bob Lazar was an electronics technician, because what senior staff level physicist do you know with 2 master's degrees that would spend his time making hot cable boxes? For those that don't know, at least in Philadelphia, they were called hot boxes. Instead of paying the cable company for all those premium channels, you bought a hot box and it would let you watch all the channels. This, my friends, is more proof that Bob Lazar was an electronics technician and not a scientist. Let's continue.
you have a reputation you're going to protect, I says, you need to get off of this one,
hmm. Why was
But
Knapp asking about him anyway?
what's that now?
Why was George Knapp
Oh,
asking?
yeah. I guess Lazar and this guy ran together, or they were, Lazar had used this guy's name as a, a reference. Now, here's the interesting thing about Lazar.
Yeah,
I'm up at work.
yeah.
All right. Now, the way the situation was, we had a group of civilian contractors. We had a component of the military,
hmm
and then we had the GS uh, supervision, and then we had United States Air Force supervision. All right, that's how everything was layered. I mean, it was amazing the complicated things they did on the simplest of things. I mean, so uh, we wake up in we're sitting there after dinner. We came from the mess hall and we're sitting around in this game room, this hooch that we're sitting at,
Mm.
and this we're watching the news. And George Knapp comes on, and he's this thing he's talking about Lazar.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you ever saw the one there. I guess they're in a vehicle or something, and they're talking, and you can't see Lazar's face.
Oh, he's in silhouette
And,
and he's calling
yeah,
himself Dennis. Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, so that's the one that was on the TV, and so me and the GS supervisor looked at one another, and I said, I won't use this guy's name because I think he's still alive. But anyway, I says, hey, I says, why don't we go over? I says, you got the key to the badge office. I says, why don't we go in there, get the EAL out, the entry authorization list,
hmm
because we were all looking at each other and we said, do you know anyone named Lazar? No one knew anyone named Lazar. So and that was our business, aside from I can't get into the details of but we knew everything about everybody. So anyway, so we went over to the badge office, got the EAL. Now, now these were in secured uh, building inside of a secured vault. We get
Mm.
this list out, open it up, go through the list, alphabetical. There's no listing for a Lazar. All right. Now
Mm.
that was the weekly EAL because it varied by the week. So then you go get the historical EAL, which is everything from the last week to the
Thanks,
beginning of
Mike.
time. Real thick printout. We went in there, looked in the historical because we said we want to get to the historical EAL before anyone can come in and dip it, and redact something.
Yeah.
We want to see. We were curious, because we knew if this guy became a hot item, they would just go in and probably take his name out of the EAL.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to see any anyone
Okay, Lee.
corrupting our information. It was like 45 minutes later we were looking at the list. No historical record of an individual named Lazar.
Yeah.
So we looked at each other and says he's a complete fake. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because REAL
Did the EAL have real names, or was it?
Oh yeah, it's all real names.
Yeah.
So, friends, it's a top secret base. Everyone who steps foot on the base or off the base is logged, entering and exiting. Guess who's not in any of the logs? According to a real Area 51 security guard who we can verify worked there during these years. Bob Lazar is not in any of the logs coming in or out of the base, friends. The story falls apart right there because maybe Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp and Bob Lazar could tell me how he worked on alien spacecraft in Area 51 if he never stepped foot on the base. Now, there are those that will argue, oh, well, he didn't work in Area 51. He worked at the sub-base S4, and we'll hear more about that. But Bob Lazar claimed to fly in on the Janet Airlines to Area 51, and then he was bused to S4, so he would still have been logged in to Area 51 as entering the base by his real name, and he wasn't. There we have it, friends. Smoking gun evidence that Bob Lazar never stepped foot on the Area 51 base.
Each individual, a good paragraph on each one of them. So,
Oh, okay.
Very detailed. Anyway, so. So at that time, and another thing, REAL was the master. It had staffing for Site 4 on there. All right, so so anyone who had access to Site 4, not necessarily had access to our location, but we had access to Site 4, but they didn't have access to our location. Our location was more of a priority than Site 4. So and so we had the data on all the individuals Site 4. He didn't show up on Site 4. All right, so.
Okay.
Anyway.
So Site 4, that was a radar installation in Tonopah Test Range.
Sorry, friends, I did it again. So the S4 he's talking about is not Bob Lazar's fantasy S4. It's the real S4, and it's not what Bob Lazar claims it to be, and we'll hear more about that now.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's all it is. Foreign technology. No.
And they used to have Russians radar and all that sort of stuff to test the signatures of the planes that used to fly.
Yeah, that just I think that's pretty much what has been published about the place, and that's probably the truth.
Could be.
Without, I got to be very careful, and I don't want to be. I'm going to be truthful. I don't want to be quoted directly on any of this stuff because it's possible it still might be sensitive.
So Site 4, there was no Site 4 at Papoose Lake.
At the what?
So you, in terms of sites, Bob Lazar claimed that there was a Site 4 at Papoose Lake.
Oh, he claimed that Site 4 was a place that existed on the opposite side of the hill at Papoose Lake.
Yeah.
Well, I'm here to tell you that the only thing at Papoose Lake is a dry lake.
Did you ever go to Papoose Lake?
The Papoose?
Yeah, did you ever go?
Oh, there wasn't a piece of real estate, a building that I didn't go into or have access to.
Okay.
I was cleared above, well, anyway.
Yes.
There was, I will tell you this, there was an installation. It was used rarely. They would, people would come,
Yes, Matthew.
people would come, and we would activate
Yes, it's in
this
court documents.
device. And we would test things.
So there was some kind
Remember,
of device at Papoose
the-
Lake that you would activate sometimes.
So, anyways, without getting into specifics,
Yeah.
this place had a very, very limited authorization. The letter, okay, I saw the letter because I used to carry the letter and on the letter was the list of names.
Yeah.
The list of names was like 60 names. These are the people entirety whose names was on, who had access to this program, who could be in this particular building.
Oh, okay. Can you speak about what the building's purpose was in roundabout ways or general ways?
Well, it had to do with just call it electronic warfare. That's all.
Okay.
It had nothing to do with Moon Man or anything like that. Just
Yeah.
and I'm sure that stuff.
Yeah. So Bob basically said that there was a UFO base built into the side of the hill there on the east side of Papoose Lake.
Yeah.
Did you ever go into that area where he claimed there was that installation?
Absolutely, yes.
And there was
on the if you have an aerial map of the place,
yeah.
If you look to the range of mountains that is just it would be just east of the P1 lake bed.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Gunner.
All right.
P1 is what you call Papoose, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
P1. Yeah. So the P1 lake bed. If you see the mountain range, you can see this little dirt road that comes around the lower south side of that mountain range and then intersects about in the middle of P1 lake bed.
Okay.
That's where we had a little
No idea, Solar.
shoot don't shoot house built there.
Mm-hmm.
It had all walls and rooms and stuff where you could walk through it, and we
Good
did live
point. We
fire
can
in
have
that facility too.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, that's where we had that set up right in there. So that's the only thing that happened in P1 Lake Bed. And it was,
no hidden base in the side of the hill there.
No, and the actual boundary between the two different areas or whatever you want to just arbitrary line in the sand, if you will, ran right through the middle of P1 Lake Bed. So,
Okay.
more just a little bit to the west of the middle of the P1 Lake Bed was the actual boundary line that separated. So that was like no man's land between, because they wanted to have complete isolation between the programs that were over there versus the programs that were on our side. So
was Papoose? Did they have any radiation issues? I noticed that on the west side, over the range on the west side, was one of the main nuclear testing sites. So was there any radiation issues at Papoose?
So first we hear from this verified real Area 51 security guard who spent time at the base, 10 years in fact, and had been all over the base, including this Papoose Lake area, that there was nothing there. Just like the recent flyovers have shown, that the place where Bob Lazar claims that there's a top secret base with hangars built into the mountain, there's nothing there, friends. But besides there being absolutely nothing there, there's a good reason there's nothing there, and that is because of the radioactivity levels. The radioactivity levels are so high that people could not spend long periods of time there without suffering major health risk. And we're going to hear more about that now.
you know, I'm going to have to say I don't think that there was uh, other than now, it's different. It's when you talk about that place, you got to understand there was over 100 airburst detonations of nuclear devices.
Yep.
That's where they tested nuclear devices, friends. It would not be a wise thing to put a base right where they once tested nuclear devices, friends. Oh, and look at that. Here, Matthew Wright with a kind and generous super chat for $4.99. Just so everybody knows, we read every single super chat. We acknowledge and thank every single super chat. So get them in, friends. Thank you, Matthew, for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. It really does help. You are helping us to do this important work, to continue this important work. And, friends, you are helping us to praise the cash. So thank you, Matthew Riot, for your kind generosity and donation of $4.99. Praise the cash, friends.
You're watching Truthseekers. Praise the cash, praise the
cash. Thank you very much, Matthew. Much appreciated.
Right,
very generous.
Just to the east of that location, or to the west of that location. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you say, was there any radiation there? Absolutely. Now,
to irradiate to work.
Of the type that would be immediately harmful to you? Probably not. If you were there like we were all the time, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So, then and there were some areas that were hot spots, and they had little fences around them. So, and we had one of them right in the middle of our valley, right in between. Well, it's just north of the dry lake, out in that flat right there. There was a fenced-in area.
So, friends, the area where Bob Lazar claims that the ultra-secret base where they kept the alien spacecraft couldn't have been there based on the radiation levels alone. You can't have people working out there every day for prolonged periods of time, or they would suffer serious health risks. And thanks very much to Ellen Fox for a kind and generous purchase of a super sticker of $4.99. We appreciate your kindness, your generosity, and your support. And Ellen Fox, longtime show supporter, always helping us to praise the cash, friends.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Thank you for your kindness and your generosity and your continued support, Ellen. Much appreciated. Very generous of you.
And it was an area where they had done a couple of safety experiments.
Okay.
And they
Praise
suspended
the cash, Matthew.
a couple of one of them was a plutonium device and one of them was a uranium device. Suspended them on 500 feet or so off of the ground, and they were all encased in C4. And they wanted to simulate what would happen if a rocket, a ground-to-air rocket, impacted an airplane that had a live nuclear device in it, fully armed. Would it go nuclear? Would it go nuclear, or would it just blow up?
Yeah.
Well, they did two tests with two different types of devices. One of plutonium, one of uranium, and they blew them into dust, and they didn't go nuclear, but they spread all the components, all the uranium-235 and the plutonium core, vaporized that and spread it all over the desert there. So we used to drive through that area all the time. The one thing that you should know is out of the original contingent of contractors that worked there, we all started getting sick. I would say, well, number one, all of us are dead. There's only like 3 or 4 of us that are still alive. Now, that being said, some of them died from natural causes, and some of them had the most weirdest diseases that you would think of, So, yeah, there definitely was a hazard to your health working up there.
Yeah, the sad tragedy is that this gentleman, Fred Dunham, as well as many other people, got sick from a combination of the radiation, some believe, and also the burn pits where they would burn all of this strange materials that they were developing for the stealth fighter and other black projects. He is indeed suing the government. We want to thank Lord Ludicrous Plaid. Love the avatar. Love that chat room user ID. Ed Fouché said S4 was a radar shack. TD Barnes too. I agree with you, Lord Ludicrous Plaid. Many people have said that S4 was indeed a radar shack at, I believe it was Tarnapak, right? But it definitely had nothing to do with Bob Lazar's fake flying saucer, mechanic stories. So, this is the problem. Maybe Bob Lazar heard about a location called S4 and he used it in his story, but that doesn't mean that he actually worked there. And even if he did, it's a radar shack. There's no alien spacecraft at that radar shack. But thank you, Lord Ludicrous Plaid, for your kindness, your generosity, and your support as you are helping us continue this great work, and praise the cash. Praise the cash, friends.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. Much appreciated, Lord Ludicrous Plaid.
I think I saw a paper once where it was talking. It was a paper about the cleanup of Papoose, where they took off some of the top
Oh, Lou
area of it.
Johnson's here, old friend.
Get rid of
It
How you doing, Lou?
wasn't Papoose. It was an area that was, like I say, it was just one area that they tried to clean up where they had blown those bombs off. It was just north and west of the lake bed.
Okay.
Good point,
Broom
Pooslinger.
Lake bed, so that's out in that flat there. That's the place that we drove through all the time.
Yeah.
And the dust from when we first got there, the dust from and the vehicles we had multitude of holes in
I agree,
the
Victor.
floorboards and stuff. It was amazing how we had vehicles, and that was in 1981. We had vehicles that were 1968 vehicles. They were rusted
Yes, it is,
out,
Matthew.
garbage,
Yeah.
because they had to get workable vehicles out of the
I think so,
government
Anthony.
fleet that was basically condemned, because that place operated off of, in its infancy, it was operating off of like the waste products of the federal government. If there was vehicles that were condemned in one area that still might have 300,000 or 400,000 or 3,000 or 4,000 miles left on them, we would get them. They would bring them in and say, "Oh, here, use this," and use it until it falls apart, because then you just threw it in the pit, abandon it.
Okay.
Anything so you never got anything that was brand new. You
I
know,
agree, Matthew.
anything that you got was always used up or very nearly used up. Now that's like in the 80s, and it started to improve towards the start of the 90s. But
Whoa, Tractor
we started getting
Basil.
some new vehicles and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
you just come in and
How did I lose it?
cough, you just cough up mud out of your lungs from the dirt,
Yeah.
and all you have to do
Whoa,
is
super generous.
inhale.
Super generous, Tractor Basil. Why would you trash Bob Lazar because he ran a brothel? Isn't that any man's dream? I don't know. Maybe for some, but for me, I would think about the victims. Talk to some sex workers and tell me if they enjoyed that experience, right? Get to know some strippers and tell me if they enjoy their jobs, right? And of course, I'm generalizing, but I myself would never become involved in that trade based on the way that the women are usually exploited. But that's my personal belief. That's my personal ethics and morality. Some would say if they agree to do it for money, especially like the legal brothels in Las Vegas, then, so be it. But Tractor Basil, wow, how generous. Very, very generous of you. Yeah, and to borrow a phrase from Rich from Goofon, mucho generoso. Absolutely. Wow, that is one of the biggest super chats we've ever got. I want to thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and support, and for helping us, of course, to praise the cash. Praise the cash, friends. I am blown away by your generosity, Tractor Basil. Thank you for supporting our show here.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your generosity. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
So thank you, Tractor Basil, for your kindness, your generosity, and your support of the show. And thank you from our little cash clown, who I'm sure is going to want a cut of that. He shook me down, Tractor Basil. He wants to know what percentage he gets, because he's the one doing the praising of the cash. Thank you very much for your kindness, your generosity, and support. Very much appreciate it. I appreciate it immensely. All right, let's get back to this interview, friends. We've got about 10 minutes left here.
A piece of plutonium that is smaller than, like, 100 times smaller than a piece of salt.
Yeah.
And you're dead.
Yeah, not good.
Anyway.
I'll change the subject. I know it's probably a bit sensitive for you. Have you ever heard of a person called Jim Tagliani?
Sigliani, not to my knowledge, no.
Those are dancers, Tractor Basil.
I understand he used to let off fireworks over there.
What's that now?
I understand that you used to let off a bit of steam and shoot
I
off a bit
did.
of fireworks over in Area 51 or Papoose or something. I think I read something like that.
Oh, I don't know.
Alien scientist is in the house.
Did you ever
Shout out.
meet Bob Lazar?
No, never. Never seen him in my life.
Yeah, but you know of his story, though.
What's that now?
But you know his story.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah.
And I mean, this guy, he got arrested here. He's hooked up somehow with some kind of prostitution ring. He had installed an alarm system for some call girls or something. I don't know. He was,
Actually, the story about Bob Lazar's involvement in the whorehouse depends on who you ask. George Knapp has said that he was full partners in the whorehouse and that he was upset with him because that would ruin the credibility of the story. Bob, at various times, has claimed that he had very little involvement. He just helped them with a security system, But, according to George Knapp, he was a full partner with a madam in the whorehouse.
Yeah.
Lazar, he was just, he's I don't know, he's a phony guy, that's all. Vegas is full of a lot of clowns like that.
Better late than never, Scott. Thanks for being here.
You ever see any weird craft? Not UFOs, I mean like
Thanks, Lou.
aircraft. Or, yeah.
Good seeing you.
I guess it's a general question of what kind of aircraft did you see flying out there that you can disclose?
Well, anything that I saw out there's been disclosed up to a point, I think. Yeah, but nothing, nothing any more weirder than what you see out there in the regular Air Force inventory.
Yeah, SR-71 and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I happened to have been the day that they took the last flight. They flew a SR from just off of the coast of LA to Washington. And then they gave that one to the Smithsonian. They happened to have, before they retired that plane, they took off and refueled and came over and did a couple low flybys, a couple of passes for the guys that were up there, because that was, one of the things that they worked on in the past. And anyway, they gave us a little air show with it. It was 5-8 minutes. They came over a couple flybys, and just an amazing aircraft. They took it and came in over the runway and went vertical, and just enough power so the thing just stayed like a very slow rocket going straight up in the air, and it just kept going and going and going, just maintaining that really slow up in the air like that. And it just went up until it disappeared, and it flopped over on its back. You could see the silhouette, and it flopped over on its back, and it twisted over right side, and then just took off.
So here's a real Area 51 security guard. Did he see any alien spacecraft or anything really exotic? No. He saw the SR-71 once, but that was about as exotic as it got. So, I guess no flying saucers being test flown at Area 51, as Jeremy Corbell, Bob Lazar, and George Knapp have claimed for years. And, people will choose what they want to believe, I suppose, right? But this man actually worked there for 10 years. He'd been at all areas of the base. I think it's a credible witness.
That's just amazing.
Did they conduct any nighttime tests? And
oh yeah.
Was there every night? Do you think that they were flying something out there, or?
Well, sure. That was part of the thing of those items they were testing. They were, all that thing about owning the night. That's part of that whole game. That invisibility from electronic surveillance, and at night you're invisible. They want to cloak everything as best you can. So everything was at night.
I basically asked that because at one point Bob Lazar, believers have said that how did he know that there was going to be lights above that area at that particular night? So yes, I'm just wondering if there was lights there every night. So
yeah, that's because he took them out there when that particular aircraft was 737 coming in from Las Vegas at that night.
Another person who believes that the lights in the sky that Bob Lazar was showing everybody were simply the Janet Airlines flying employees in. Remember, they were some incredible distance from Area 51 when they were sitting there, and Bob Lazar was telling them, see, that's the alien flying saucers they're testing flying. And they believed him, friends. And I want to stop this for a moment. Victor Caliero, with an incredible, Police records say the police found the brothel lease agreement with Bob's name on it. So yeah, he didn't just install cameras; he was running that whorehouse. He had also interviewed the hookers and installed surveillance cams in the trick rooms. All was in the court documents. Wow! So he put cameras in the rooms. Yeah, you talk about conflict of interest, right? You catch people. Some of those guys may be married. Some of those guys may be city officials or politicians, and you've got tape of them engaging in illicit sex acts with prostitutes. Very problematic. Why would Bob Lazar do that? We can speculate, I suppose, right? And Victor also chimes in. The madam he was in business in also accused him of not paying her a substantial amount of money. Well, that kind of is to be expected. After all, Bob Lazar declared bankruptcy shortly before coming out with his flying saucer, alien flying, working on flying saucer stories, and he never paid a bunch of his creditors. He owed everybody money, including past employees and I believe his parents even. He even owed his parents money that was mentioned in the bankruptcy. Wow. Great guy. Some scientist.
Every night.
You mean the
It would
Janet?
come in-
You mean the Janet flights?
It would come in from Vegas to there and pick up people and take them back home.
Yeah, you mean the Janet flights?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what that was. Jesus. And that thing made, as it came in, it was,
Maybe, Chris.
it would go due north from like Indian Springs. It would go due north, and then it would turn on its landing lights halfway during that approach from north to halfway up. Then it would turn and go due east.
Yeah.
All right, with its landing lights on. Then it would turn and then go due north again. So every time
Could
it
be,
did
Lord
that,
Ludicrous.
it looked like it was moving. Then it looked like it was when it turned and went due east. It looked like
I
it
agree,
was
Jeff.
hovering. And then it would turn and go due north again, and then it looked like it was moving fast. So everyone was going, "Oh my, look at that!" And all it's doing is, you see the bright landing light, and it's moving. Then now it's turning, coming right at you. Now it looks like it's hovering. It's
And they used to come in every night, or what?
every night. I mean, yeah. Sometimes twice.
So this right here, friends, destroys this argument that some people have, like, well, how did he know about the test flights? Friends, they saw a light in the sky. They were miles away from the base. They could have been seeing anything. Airplane lights, helicopter lights. They literally could have been seeing anything from that distance away. There's no proof that Bob Lazar knew about any flying saucer test flights. In fact, we now have proof that he never stepped foot on the base. So how would he know about test flights being conducted at the base if he never even stepped foot on the base?
Yeah. And there used to be aircraft tests as well, pretty much every night as well, you say?
Yeah, and the test articles, they didn't run any lights, so
Okay.
you would see those anyway.
What kind of clearances and security checks did you have to go through, and how long did that take?
Took about.
Keep connecting.
See, we started out right when the Reagan administration started, and our paperwork was in before Reagan actually took office. But when he took office, the priority came to clear all his staff, so that put us back. So it took about, I think it took us about 7-8 months.
Wow.
Here we have it, friends. Bob Lazar claimed to get his top secret clearance, allowing him to go on the world's most secret base in a few days, or was it a week? I can't quite recall. But here we have a real Area 51 employee, and I have other sources who told me a similar time frame. It takes at least 6 months to get all the clearances before you can ever even step foot on the base. But we're expected to believe a convicted pimp, well, he wasn't a convicted pimp at the time, But still, we're expected to believe this man with a questionable background, questionable educational credentials, that he got his top secret clearance in less than a week. Meanwhile, real Area 51 employees have all told me it takes 6 months or more for them to do all the background checks and the vetting and for you to get your clearance before you are allowed access to the base.
Of yeah, we they basically paid us just to
I agree.
come down and sign a piece of paper. That we were
Dr. Greer
still,
cheats at checkers. Wow.
Okay.
from January of '80
Yeah.
to like September.
Yeah.
I agree, Tractor Basil.
I was on full payroll, and all I would do was drive down there, sign my name, see if there was anything, and every day it was, we got nothing for you, go home, and yeah, so I had paid like 8 months. Of course, all that time they're running the background
Good point,
check
Chris.
on,
So 7 months just for 8 months just for a security check.
Yeah, and the clearance you got was a military grade clearance. It was a top secret clearance, and it had what they call an SBI, which is a security background investigation.
Okay.
And then once we got in that particular mode, when we got accepted and put in location, then they would read you in, they would give you an SCI, and then you had what they called a special project or special program access. And then, because of the nature of what we did, some of us had crypto clearances, but just a handful of us.
Well, what do you think of Bob Lazar's claim that he had this MAJ-12 super clearance?
That's just the biggest load of crap. There are no, now, I'm going to tell you straight out.
Yeah.
There's nothing up there that has to do with anything that has to do with extraterrestrial or anything like that.
Yeah.
Right. The road to get back to that P1 lake bed is atrocious.
Gee, friends, so there's no such thing as majestic top secret. And this from an actual security guard at Area 51. And he believes that there's nothing extraterrestrial or alien at the base, and he's been to every inch of it in his 10 years of time working there. Now we're going to hear more substantial proof that Bob Lazar's story is completely and totally bunk. Because Bob Lazar claimed that they drove him in a bus from Area 51 proper 15 miles out to the Papoose ultra secret S4 base. Now we're going to hear why that is impossible. First of all, he never stepped foot on the base, but even if he did, he couldn't have taken a bus here to S4, and we're going to hear why.
Okay.
You could no more get a bus of any type up that road. I mean, there's a couple spots in it that is tough, There's no good maintained road that goes back in there. I mean,
it's an unsealed dirt road, is it?
Yeah, it's a very rough dirt road back in the P1 lake bed.
I agree.
I don't know. I'm conflicted. The thing is, I really have a big heartburn about this situation because many of us got real sick because of getting exposed to those fumes from them burning that material that they've admitted that they did.
Yep.
You know, and
Do you have some kind of class action going on against them, or?
well, no, the thing that is something is the actual individuals who are responsible for that particular installation up until 1992
Mm-hmm.
uh, was the Department of Energy.
Yeah.
Okay, the entity that was there doing whatever they were doing
Nice to see you,
uh,
Rebecca.
was merely a a like a rentor. You follow what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The physical installation and the property at that time, the real estate belonged to the Department of Energy, and they were the individuals that were responsible for what occurred there.
Yes, friends. So the rest of this video, which really I think anybody interested in Area 51, you really should hear the whole thing. But our real focus tonight was on this incredible Bob Lazar, this incredible evidence that Bob Lazar never stepped foot on Area 51, that there's nothing alien or extraterrestrial there, that he couldn't have taken a bus to the area that he said he did because the road is so atrocious that no bus could make it 15 miles through this rocky, dirty, dirt road. And calling it a road is a stretch. You could see it in satellite maps. There's no way a bus is making it through there. So most of the relevant information of this very important interview concerning Bob Lazar we have listened to now. The rest of the interview majorly concerns this gentleman's fight against the U.S. government for his health problems. He is suing them for having health problems related to these burn pits. And that, my friends, may be a story for another time. Friends, let me do this because I think this is the most important interview about Area 51 that I've heard in a decade. The most revealing, especially when it comes to the Bob Lazar case, and how ridiculous it is for anybody to believe that Bob Lazar worked there when he's never stepped foot on the base, according to real Area 51 security guard here who has checked all the logs. Friends, it's a top secret base. Everyone going in and out of there, I guarantee you, is logged. Bob Lazar's name does not appear in any of the records or the historical records. Period. He never stepped foot on Area 51. Here's what I'm going to do, because honestly I have to apologize to Mr. Colliero. I forgot to do this. Terrible show host. So we're going to stop this here. Just bear with me for a moment, friends, because I have to do this right now before friends, I forget to do it. Terrible show host. 1 second, friends. Anthony Purcell says, that's what I'm saying. Where is the super secret element he stole? And George Knapp famously said he knew where some of it was buried, and someday he's going to dig it up and prove the whole story is real. Sure he is. He's been sitting on that for 35 years. He has absolute proof Bob Lazar is telling the truth. He has absolute proof of extraterrestrial visitation to Earth, but he's not going to run with that story. He's just going to leave it buried? Sure. All right, friends, so please bear with me for just a moment. I am going to post the link here to Victor's original interview in the description box below. Let me do that. And all those who are interested, I highly encourage you to listen to the whole thing. I just thought that for purposes of time tonight, we would focus solely on the evidence relevant to Bob Lazar. I believe, friends, that this is definitive proof that Bob Lazar never ever stepped foot on Area 51. Now, you can see my previous videos here. We've done many different explorations into this case. And each time I do that, we tend to find more evidence that supports the argument that Bob Lazar was an opportunist, bankrupt fraud who created this story to make money. After all, it should also be noted that right before Bob Lazar came out with his story, he and Gene Huff did a real estate appraisal at John Lear's house. And what did Gene Huff get for that? He got traded all of John Lear's material on Billy Meyer. And friends, it's no coincidence, friends, that Bob Lazar's flying saucer he claimed to work on looks virtually identical to the flying saucers that Billy Meyer, his beam ship, right? And Bob Lazar and Gene Huff sat around watching all those Billy Meyer videos and going through all those Billy Meyer books and pictures. And suddenly, Bob Lazar is working at Area 51, working on a spaceship that looks exactly like Billy Meyer's. And Billy Meyer is a complete and total proven hoaxer fraudster. So, I find that compelling evidence. Gee, right before he comes out with his story, Gene Huff and him get all the Billy Meyer material from John Lear. And John Lear has said a lot of stuff. One other point I just want to make sure that I make is that since the beginning of this, Bob Lazar and his supporters have claimed that he doesn't make any money from this. Friends, he sold a video for $29.95 called Excerpts from the Government Bible. It's here on our channel. You can watch it for free. But when I was a kid, I got robbed for, I think, $29.95 plus shipping and handling. I ordered the video. Came on VHS. It was in the back of, I'm not sure if it was Omni or Popular Science magazine in the classifieds. Learn the truth about the UFO cover-up. And so Bob Lazar owes me $29.95 because I don't believe that his story is true. And by the way, I want the interest too. It's been a long time. Bob Lazar, you owe me $29.95. Next, Bob Lazar cashed in with Testors Model Corporation, and he got a substantial upfront payment for allowing them to make a model of the alien flying saucer he claims he worked on, and he got a royalty for each unit sold. Various sources have told me they sold millions of that model. Next, very recently, for the 25th anniversary, George Knapp got Bob Lazar a huge payout, and he appeared at a conference and was paid a whopping $25,000 fee for one appearance. Now, to his credit, I suppose, Bob Lazar never did really work a lot of UFO conferences. I think that he was working a bigger angle, like the Hollywood screenplay that he and Gene Huff tried to sell to Hollywood, but that didn't work out. And most recently, friends, I'm told from several sources, and there's no way for me to verify this, but I'm just going to say it, and you can believe what you will, do your own research, but Tom DeLonge is the publisher of Bob Lazar's new book, right? But Tom DeLonge tried to hide that he was the publisher, at least I believe that he did, because a brand new publisher came out of nowhere to publish Bob Lazar's book. And myself and many other people checked on that website, and we found out that the register of the publisher's website for Bob Lazar's book was indeed Tom DeLonge's sister. Now, I'm told from several people, and there's lots of rumors floating around about how much money Bob Lazar got paid. But I've been told by many people and heard many rumors that it is seven figures, $1 million plus. He got paid for that book, the book deal. And, it's reasonable to assume that that may be true because shortly after Bob Lazar's book came out, he bought something like a $500,000 new home and property with multiple outbuildings, etc. Not a cheap new house, $500,000 is a lot of money for Bob Lazar to just suddenly come up with and buy a new home. Now, in his defense, maybe he just put a down payment down and he's got a big mortgage. I don't know. But Bob Lazar won't answer any questions about how much money he's made with these stories. George Knapp certainly won't answer any questions about how much money he's made with these stories. And Jeremy Corbell won't answer any questions about how much money he's made selling this story. So what we get, friends, is the supporters of Bob Lazar all making money, and they love to attack people who present evidence that Bob Lazar may be not telling the truth. And there's certainly a lie of omission thing going on. Like maybe George Knapp's not lying to you. He tells a compelling story. I've listened to almost every George Knapp giving a lecture or talking about this case or doing a story about this case for 35 years. He's very convincing. But one problem I always have with George Knapp is we've heard in this interview of an Area 51 security guard, an Area 51 security guard goes to George Knapp and says George Knapp, you may not want to get in with this guy. It'll damage your reputation. We checked the Area 51 logs of everybody going in and out, and Bob Lazar's not on the list, so he's fake. He's a fraud. He never, ever worked at Area 51, let alone ever. He never even stepped foot on the base. This guy tells George Knapp. Did George Knapp ever report that? Of course not. Because George Knapp, Jeremy Corbell, and Bob Lazar never show people the evidence, the counter argument here. They're all pro Lazar. He's telling the truth, and we believe him. He must be telling the truth for various weak evidence reasons why. No, friends, Bob Lazar cannot prove that he ever worked at Area 51. And in fact, there is substantial, definitive, supportive evidence that he never worked at Area 51. And we've heard just some of it tonight. And friends, it would take me 5 hours to go through all of the other evidence, but there is other videos here on my channel. Now, there is something that I need to do. There's one final point. Some of you may have seen our previous video today. We did a video today which was all about another one of Jeremy Corbell's fake stories. I believe that Bob Lazar is a fake story. I'm entitled to my opinion, and my opinion is that Bob Lazar is a fake story. And the only people that are telling you that Bob Lazar is telling the truth are people with a direct financial motive to continue selling the story, who have been selling the story for years, as in the case of George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell. They're making money selling this story, right? So they're telling you that the story is real, while at the same time leaving out all the evidence that the story may be fake. Why don't they be fair and present evidence like we did tonight? Why don't they be fair and talk about this kind of evidence? No, friends, if you're bold enough to ask these important questions to either George Knapp, good luck reaching Bob Lazar, nobody gets access, or Jeremy Corbell, you'll get blocked on social media. Actually, that's not accurate. I have a little more respect for George Knapp, because George Knapp will at least engage with you. He'll answer questions sometimes. He'll comment on something that you found or did, usually to tell you how wrong you are, but at least George Knapp is open to a conversation, and he does not block me or, you know, I've had several heated exchanges with George Knapp. Most recently, when we investigated the claim that the Bob Lazar's business was being raided so that they could find the Element 115. No, friends, it was a murder investigation. It had nothing to do with Bob Lazar's flying saucer stories, and we talked to the sheriff, who disputed an incredible amount of things that both George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell said happened during that raid. None of that happened. It's a fantasy. And they used, you know, it was very, very opportunistic. Jeremy Corbell used a real FBI raid on Bob Lazar's business to help sell his film. Gee, they raided his business, and there was 40 agents going through every inch of the place. No, that didn't happen. There was 10 or 11 agents, right? And they didn't go through every inch. They went there. They got the sales records they were after. Bob Lazar was selling a rare radioactive element that may or may not have, let's just say, allegedly been involved in a murder case, right? So, you know, we've got the people here that are always selling the story. They won't give you the counter argument. They won't show you the other side of the coin. And I think it's about time that somebody did show you the other side of the coin. Now, Jeremy Corbell has also been involved in another story that I believe is a complete and total fantasy and fake. And that is the CIA deathbed confession. Him and Richard Dolan did that story. And it involves a man, Cooper, a source that the queen of fake sources, Linda Moulton Howe, milked for years, all throughout the 90s, doing all these interviews with him. Friends, most, you know, I'll be fair and say some of Linda Moulton Howe's sources are completely and totally made up. You know, her Spartan 1 and Spartan 2 or Spartan 8, I don't know how many Spartans she has now. It sounds like every time she needs a new story to sell, she invents a new Spartan guy. They were claimed to be Navy SEALs. Turns out that they were never in the Navy. So it's not a stretch to believe that Linda Moulton Howe's sources, many of which have fake military backgrounds, and this Cooper being one of her sources, is a fraud. Now, I have said, and I've asked Richard Dolan, I try to ask him directly through emails and tweets and other things. He's never answered my question. So you can see a previous video we did today. We got somebody else to ask him the questions that he will never answer from me. And he appeared on this Theories of Everything show. And I want to thank Kurt. He's a very courageous young man, asked him some very hard questions. And in that interview, now it's important to remember that Richard Dolan says in this video that Corbell and him made, he was in the military. He is who he says he is. He worked for the CIA. So I say, where's the proof? Now, interestingly, earlier, I want to remind, just in case he's watching, Mr. Corbell, you blocked me some time ago because you didn't like the questions that I was asking about your Bob Lazar so-called documentary that I believe to be a pro-Lazar propaganda piece, solely designed. Corbell, you're not after the truth. You're after selling the story. If you were after the truth, you would have presented all the evidence that Bob Lazar's education is fake, and it's out there, and it's been out there for years. You would have presented all the evidence that he didn't work at Los Alamos as a scientist. He was an electronics technician. That evidence has been out there for years. Why didn't you include that in your documentary, right? It's a lie by omission, friends. It is a lie by omission. But there's this video that we made recently, and what we did is we went back and forth between Richard Dolan saying, this man was in the military, this man is who he says he is, to Dolan's recent interview where he was asked about this and confronted, and he said, Richard Dolan said, I never did a background check, or I didn't vet him. No, somebody asked me to do the interview, and he blamed other people for what just may be one of the biggest fake stories in UFO land. So, and it was me who asked the questions. He was on another show. The other show host offered to ask some questions from me and did so. Richard Dolan also took, about 25 or 30 minutes to explain why the Wilson documents aren't fake. I'm sorry, but the person mentioned in those documents claims they are completely and totally fictitious, and he couldn't even have been in the state at the time that the meetings in the Wilson documents were supposed to take place. So anyway, I want to remind Jeremy Corbell, you can't tweet at me when you've blocked me. I won't see it. And I can't reply to you when you've blocked me. I won't be able to. You won't see it. But somebody else sent me this, and this is Jeremy Corbell's comment on our video, our previous video here. 1 second, friends. A little out of sorts. Let me get this and share it with you because it's important. So we did a video earlier today titled, Did Richard Dolan and Jeremy Corbell Use a Fake Source to Sell a Fake Story? And Jeremy Corbell replied, not to me, but to somebody else. But I guess he's including me, but since he blocked me, I can't see him tweeting me. And let's share what he said, friends. So in regard to the CIA deathbed confession video and our assertion that they cannot and will not prove that this man is who he says he is, and it's very important, I want the proof of everything that you stated in the video, Jeremy Corbell. You guys said he was in the military, he worked for the CIA, this man is who he said he is. So I'm not the one selling the story. Jeremy Corbell says, this is laughable, sad and desperate, attention-seeking horse you-know-what. So the premise is that the witness wasn't in the military. No, my major premise is that this man is not who he says he is. You said that he was in the military. You said that he worked for the CIA, and so did Richard Dolan, and apparently your co-producer here, Ruben Langdon. Corbell goes on to say, and what proof do you base that nonsense on? I'm asking you the question now, as this is a teachable moment. Ruben Langdon and I vetted his DD-214. Great. I'm so glad, Jeremy Corbell, that you vetted him and his military experience is real. And that I'm wrong. I can't, or that I may be wrong. Since you vetted him in 2014, you vetted his DD-214. Well, actually, he didn't say when. He just says he vetted the DD-214. Great, Jeremy Corbell, post it. Post the DD-214. For those that don't know, that's somebody's detailed military records, and it'll even say where they were stationed, what work they did, all that kind of stuff. So, see, and Jeremy Corbell's wrong. My presence is not just that he wasn't in the military. My premise is that this man is not who he says he is. You, Jeremy Corbell, and you, Richard Dolan, say you have proof he was in the military? Great. Post it. I can't wait to read those documents and match up his DD-214 to some of his claims made in your video that you've been selling for years. And oh, do you have pay stubs from the CIA? Or proof he worked at the CIA, right? You have that proof, since you're claiming this man is who he says he is, and the whole premise of your video is that he's a former CIA operative on his deathbed giving a confession about the aliens. You have the proof he worked for the CIA, right? Did you file FOIA requests with the government to verify his being employed by the CIA and other claims he's made? Can't wait to see those, Jeremy Corbell. Oh, and he claims to have flown into Area 51, right? So you've got copies of all the flight logs with his name on them, right? See, friends, every plane flying in or out of Area 51 and every person who's ever visited the base is logged, as we've heard tonight. And the flight logs would prove or disprove those claims. But we've never seen the flight logs from Jeremy Corbell and Richard Dolan. And if you ask me why we haven't seen them, it's because we never will. Because those flight logs, friends, with that man's name on them, flying into or out of Area 51, simply do not exist. Any records proving that he worked for the CIA simply do not exist. And I got to tell you, friends, if he truly worked for the CIA, you'd be able to find some corroboration, some documents, some proof that he actually worked there. He'd be able to provide them. I can't wait to see this proof. Richard Dolan stood in front of cameras and said, "This man is who he said he was." So you, Richard Dolan, and you, Jeremy Corbell, you should be able to prove his military claims and claims that he worked for the CIA, right? Selling a story where you claim this man was in the military and worked for the CIA when you cannot indeed prove those claims is extremely problematic. And in my personal opinion, that could amount to consumer fraud. After all, you're saying the story is true and this man is who he says he is. You're claiming he worked for the CIA and the military. You made those claims. You claimed this was a true story. So I say, fine. Prove this man is who he said he was. You guys have already made all the money from that project. It's about time you offer the proof that that man is who he says he was, as you stated in your video. And with that, friends, we will take a very short break, and then we're going to, Super Chat. Did I miss one? Oh, there we go. Thank you very much. Lord Ludicrous Plaid. He says he hand-drawn sports. Yeah, he's right now. That's another cash-in. Bob Lazar never made any money from this. Friends, he's right now selling a hand-drawn sports model poster for $90, and he'll sign it for you. I almost want to buy it, but I don't want to give this person any more money. Yeah, I definitely don't want to give him any of my own money, right? And I want to thank Victor Caliero for being here and dropping lots of knowledge and fun facts. Yeah, and this is something that we talked about earlier. The court docs say Bob got his degrees from Pacifica University, a correspondence school. I found Pacifica University got shut down for selling degrees. Mike Wallace on 60 Minutes busted them. Yeah, it was a degree mill, Victor Caliero, and you can't get into MIT or Caltech with a fake degree that you bought online from a company that got busted for selling fake degrees. Just doesn't happen. I've talked to MIT and Caltech admissions officers who both laughed at the idea of anybody getting into a master's program with a degree from Pacifica University. So, friends, we're going to take a very, very short break here, and we're going to do a musical guest tonight to give us a short break, and then when I come back, I'm going to devote my full and complete and total attention to the live chat. I think that would be a good idea. So, let me see, friends. I'm trying to find one we haven't played in a while. Yeah, we're going to play my old friend Jason Paul Elder, who used to record at my studio. So we're going to play a musical guest. We'll be right back, friends.
Contemplation brewing past vanilla cream. That might be better off just keeping it a daydream. Why is this happening to me? It's just the way it has to be. You say our words mean something, but they don't belong. I tell you nothing in this world could ever claim us wrong. How can I ever make you sleepy? It's just the way it has to be. Bleeding hearts, beating ever slowly, farther from us. Bleeding hearts, completely overflowing. Gardens of trust starting to eventually you might agree. It's just the way it has to be. Eventually you might agree. It's just the way it has to be. Eventually you might agree.
Okay, and we are back, friends. Thanks to my old friend Jason Paul Elder for lending me some of his songs and being a musical guest. Much appreciated, old friend Jason Paul Elder. Check out his music on YouTube. Just search by his name there. One of the really fun guys that used to record at my studio in Philadelphia. And that's the reason I had to take a break, friends. I'm still having some nasal and sinus issues and throat issues. I'm sure it's nothing serious. It's slowly going away, but it's taking forever. Go Kicks Rocks is here, and she's a music critic. Says, music is about to put me to sleep, Cambion. Well, sometimes we play more rock and stuff. Tonight, yeah, I just happened to grab that one. Sorry. Yeah, check out some of his other music. You might like it. So, friends, I will devote my full and total attention to the live chat. We could discuss tonight's show or anything. Anything. Matt's reminding me to take COVID. Take vitamin C. Yes, I'm taking vitamin C, zinc, vitamin D, grapefruit seed extract, and a bunch of other stuff. Just trying to knock it out of me, Matt. Mystic Moon asked me, do I still record? Yes, and in fact, if you sign up for my Patreon, we do a few songs a month that are just for the Patreon supporters. Go Kick Rocks, that's much nicer, says nice relaxing song. Yeah, he tends to be that way. His music is kind of relaxing. It's good for like light some candles, kick back and relax. Yeah. So any questions or comments for me? I want to publicly thank Victor Caliero, and I'm not sure if he's still in the live chat, but I want to thank him for allowing us to share this very, very important evidence. And friends, I want to ask you, why are George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell and others who profit from the Bob Lazar story, why aren't they bringing you this very important evidence, right? So Wharton says, Philadelphia, do you like the Flyers' moves? Do you still have the studio in Philly? No, Solar Warden. I miss it a lot. A few years ago, you know, when Philly started to get really bad with the crackheads and the dopers, they were going to put, Solar Warden, a safe injection site just about 1.5 miles from my home and studio. I had a home and next to it a separate building with a commercial recording studio for some time in Philadelphia. So when it started getting bad in that area, I decided to cash everything out. I sold my home, which was really my family's home before me. My father bought that home in 1984. And I moved in with my mother after his death to take care of the home. And because she was a career housewife, so I took care of her for some 20 years. Then she passed away, and there was really no reason to stay in that neighborhood. It was getting bad, so we cashed out. I sold both my home and the recording studio and moved to the suburbs. We are now in the suburbs of Philadelphia. Don't miss Philadelphia one bit, but I do sure miss the studio, and I may build a new one. Time will tell. But I record songs every month, and they get posted on Patreon until an album is done. So the Patreon people are getting the album before it's finished in various forms. And there's links in the About section and links in the descriptions if you want to, in the description of this video, if you want to sign up for our Patreon. It's as little as $1 a month. And we post a journal every month about things going on behind the scenes at the show. I've been posting these new characters, including an update. Now we have Jimmy Needs Church as a character and Linda Moulton Howdy Doody. And the people that are on our Patreon get to see those tests. It's sort of a backstage view before things go live in public here on our public stream. You guys on Patreon supporting me get to preview those things. So, yeah. Tractor Basil says, trash my boy David Adair, and I'll never... Well, now I'm going to have to keep my mouth shut about what I think about David Adair. But I do have a show coming up, right? Victor Caliero says, come to Australia. You can enjoy lockdowns every few weeks. Yeah, I saw all those videos. It's crazy over there, Victor. Have the people in Australia just like, we've had enough, we're not taking this anymore? Is that kind of where you guys are at? Right? Okay. Guerin Chaffa says, Victor Caliero, you did a phenomenal job of getting that interview. I absolutely agree. And shout out to Dark Sky Files, an alien scientist is here, saying Rhode Island is bad in certain areas too. Jeremy, I want to move to the cabin. We're in the middle of the woods. You know, we've got neighbors, but it's a bunch of people that just decided to go live in the middle of the woods. It's very like-minded people. I got great neighbors, great community there of people, most of which are trying to escape from the real crap world that we live in and just have a place off in the woods, right? I want to live there, ideally, or someplace like that. And me and my wife are thinking about it. And, time will tell. We're very happy here in the suburbs, but I'd like to be even more isolated. And even the cabin is not as isolated as I'd like to be. Jeremy, I want to live on 100 or 200 acres and put a little cabin right in the middle of those 100 or 200 acres with a dirt road leading up to it and a private gate and just escape from this world, right? Tractor Basil says, I want to smoke a blunt with Big Daddy Bear, David Adair. I'm not sure what to think about his story. It's a great story. I wish it's true. I want it to be true, kind of like the Bob Lazar story or the CIA deathbed confession story. I wish that was true as well, right? But, you told me not to trash your buddy David Adair, so I won't. But maybe on a future show, we might get to doing that. I want to check in with the Super Chats just to make sure that we didn't miss any of them. I want everybody to know that we read, acknowledge, and thank every single person. And I'm going to reread them tonight just to be sure that I got every one of you. It looks like I did, but I'm going to read them again and thank everyone once again. 1 second. Let me make sure there's nothing there that I don't want anybody to... Oh, no, it's okay. All right, 1 second. All right, so here is our kind and generous Super Chat donators tonight. We're going to start with the first one from Matthew Riot. Kind and generous $4.99 Super Chat. You sunk my Lazar battleship. Ellen Fox with a kind and generous $4.99 Super Chat. Lord Ludicrous Plaid saying Ed Fouché said S4 was a radar shack. TD Barnes too. Yeah, and check out Alien Scientist channel because he and Solar Marshall did amazing deep dives into Ed Fouché. I think Ed Fouché was the real deal. When people ask me who I trust, I tend to trust Edgar Fouché because his background and where he worked could actually be verified. He really was in the military. He really did work at these secret bases, and he really did have secret clearance. Tractor Basil, why would you trash Bob Lazar because he ran a brothel? Isn't that every man's dream? Well, maybe for some. And Lord Ludicrous Plaid with another kind of generous $1.99 Super Chat saying, he sells, Bob Lazar is selling a hand-drawn sports model poster right now for $99. Thank you all for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. It means a lot to me. It helps keep the lights on here and keep the show moving forward. Every dollar helps, friends. We buy supplies with it. We pay for software we need. I'm going to be purchasing some stock video collections so that we can sort of up our production game. That's coming out of the till here. It just gives me a little bit of money to work with. And so far, hey, tonight I'm doing great. Thanks to the kindness and generosity and support of everybody tonight, I'm making better than Taco Bell wages tonight, I think, right? We've been here for an hour and 48 minutes. Definitely better than Taco Bell wages, friends. What can I say? It's a good time for everybody, for me to thank everybody and say, praise the cash, friends. Thank you all for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. There's a money button down there. Get them in now. We're not going to be here much longer, friends. Praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your generosity. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Yeah, that's how I feel tonight. People are just throwing money at me. I'm so thankful and I have an attitude of gratitude. Wow, look at that. When another show host is sending you money, what can you say? Jeremy, you didn't have to do that. You got a family, you know. But I truly appreciate it. Amazing work. Get some beers on me with a kind and generous $20 super chat. And now we got to go back to the super chats and say praise to cash. Thank you, Jeremy. I truly appreciate it. For those that don't know, Jeremy is the smartest guy I know. Literally. Like, and I'm a computer science guy. I know some smart people. But Jeremy starts talking about protons and neutrons and spin, you know, and gravitational vortexes. He's been into the UFO phenomenon forever, but his emphasis is on the science behind the propulsion systems. And he's got this APEC conference, and they're really going after the secrets of anti-gravity. I hope he cracks the code. Thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. Praise the cash, Jeremy, alien scientist.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Okay, so we'll take some comments and questions from the live chat. Some Conscious Life Expo is coming up, and then another one right after that. Sure, they will be praising the cash. Yeah, I don't work conferences, so yeah. Wow. Tractor Basil, the kind and generous $1.29 super chat. Wow, that brings him up to a grand total of something like $51.29 tonight. Most kind and generous super chatter ever. So thank you very much, and praise the cash, friends.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Okay, and I just want to remind people, you know, that we're doing God's work here. So when you donate, you are helping us to, number one, keep some of these UFO celebrities honest. And I got to tell you, friends, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it, right? And there are other people doing this work, but we are really trying to push the ball forward here and really, really trying to make it harder for people to sell fake stories, right? So, what can I say, friends? We really think that throwing us a couple of bucks really does help us, right? And we appreciate your kindness, your generosity, and support. We're doing the work we need to do here, friends, and you guys are all helping us.
Here's what I want you to do. If the Lord is speaking to you, ushers, bring some baskets down. Just leave them there. I'm not finished. I got one more point to make. This is what I want you to do. Thank you, Miss Marguerite. I brought her because I want you to understand that the work must continue. This is not a plea for money. It's a plea for partnership so that we can be what we're supposed to be. I just need 497 people to say, I'll do 300.
And friends, of course I'm joking, but these bumpers came from me not quite knowing how to ask for money. And I thought, who asks for money better than everybody, right? Televangelists do. Lord Ludicrous Plaid with another kind and generous donation of $1.99. Ed Fouché had me at goggles. Yeah, he had me at the goggles too. I know exactly what you're talking about. Actually, he had me at him describing that the U.S. government had CPUs that were far in advance of consumer CPUs. They were like 3 times faster or something like that. Ed Fouché, I believe, was the real deal. His background could be verified. His military service could be verified. And hopefully someday we will do a deep dive here and we will cover Edgar Fouché. In the meantime, Lord Ludicrous Plaid, thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and support, and helping us to praise the cash, friends.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
Thank you, Lord Ludicrous Plaid. Very generous of you. Very generous of everybody tonight. I'm quite certain that this was the most money we've ever collected in super chats in one show, and I got to tell you, I'm happy about that because I'm looking at some new equipment. And I mean, we'll talk about that on another show. Oh, Matthew Riot with a kind and generous donation of $4.99. Still gonna, but for a yeah, I got him on my list as well. Absolutely, Matthew Riot. You want to see us do a show on Dan Burrish? There's many people that worked on that case or researched that case that I know, and I could try to get some of them as guests. So thank you for your kindness, your generosity. Praise the cash, Matthew Riot. My poor son, right? Listen. I'm surprised I didn't get any hate mail about me involving my son in the show and praising the cash. But it's important that I tell people that the truth is that my son is learning about earning money, and he likes he likes clowns and things like that. So we came up with this idea to teach him that you can't just keep asking for toys every week and getting new toys. You have to earn them. So I told him that if he worked on the show, we would get him some new toys, and we have. But I have a feeling there's some new toys in his future because people really like our little cash clown, right? UFO Watchdog is here. Shout out to UFO Watchdog. UFO Watchdog, are you a moderator? Please let me see here. If you're not a moderator, I'm going to make you one, and I want you to put your website in the live chat because UFO Watchdog is one of the people that turned me on to the fact that some of these people aren't telling the truth. And friends, believe it or not, I used to be a true believer, and when I heard somebody at a UFO conference stand up and say that they were in the Air Force or Navy or whatever, I believed that the conference organizer vetted them and they really were telling the truth. I had no idea how many stolen valor frauds were out there pretending to be military people. And there we find UFO Watchdog. I found his website detailing many of these UFO hucksters, fraudsters, fakers, and liars. And that's one of the things that turned me down the rabbit hole of like, oh my, how many, so many of these people are lying. Why doesn't anybody fact check them? UFO Watchdog has been fact checking them long before me. And I just now made you a moderator, UFO Watchdog. So you can please do put your website address. Yeah, UFO Watchdog even got sued for exposing someone. Wasn't that, I forget who it was. Sean David Morton. Wasn't he the guy who sued you, or was it somebody else, UFO Watchdog? And terrible that somebody would do that. God forbid you tell people the truth and screw up their wallet and their cons, right? It's terrible. Terrible. So actually, I'm going to share something from my Twitter, and this relates to this whole thing that just happened with me, Richard Dolan, and Jeremy Corbell. And I'm going to make no apologies for this. Always remember, friends, misdirection, deception, and subterfuge can be very useful weapons of war, and magicians are learned experts at these things and more. So sometimes, things may not be what they actually appear to be, right? They may not be what they appear to be. But illusions, friends, magicians can see through deception and illusions more easily than most. And illusions can only last so long. Eventually, they fade, friends. One more thing I was going to share. One second, friends. Let me get this up. Okay. I mentioned the characters and the Patreon, and we've been testing several characters, doing screen tests, right? And here we are, friends. Linda Moulton Howdy Doody is a new guest host coming soon to Truthseekers, right? It took me 3 tries to get this one. This is the 3rd attempt at making a Linda Moulton Howdy Doody character. Yeah. And actually, the name Linda Moulton Howdy Doody is not mine. I want to thank Rich from Goofon. Came from him. I said, wow, that's a great idea for a character. Can I use that name? He said, sure. Own it, bro. Go ahead. Good guy. And then besides Linda Moulton Howdy Doody screen tests on our Patreon, we're also sharing these Jimmy Needs Church character screen tests. And I'm hoping that these will be soon, right? One second. Did I miss one? Yeah, hold on, friends. I'm having a little bit of trouble with my live chat. Oh, there we go. Lord Ludicrous Plaid with another kind and generous donation of $4.99. So where do you stand now? What percentage of people see are military versus actual unknown? You know, I believe that of all the UFO reports, you know, it's been said by many people, including Blue Book, that 90% or more are explainable by weather phenomenon, misidentified aircraft, the planet Venus, or other astronomical sightings that are misconstrued as something otherworldly. I believe it's probably about 10% is truly unknown. And if you drill down on those, you probably get rid of another 5% of those, right? So thanks for your kindness, your generosity, and your support. Lord Ludicrous Plaid, helping us to praise the cash.
Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your generosity. Praise the cash, praise the cash, praise the cash.
And I apologize, friends. I'm going to have to get some other bumpers because I never anticipated having to play those Praise the Cash bumpers quite so much all in one show, right? But thank you for your kindness, your generosity, and support. Every little bit helps. And right now I'm going, you know, if there's something new for the show I want to buy, I can do that and not worry. So I appreciate that very much. UFO Watchdog. Yeah, so it was Sean David Morton, right, that sued you for libel. Then he ended up in federal prison for investment scams, right? And now he's a convicted felon. And UFO Watchdog, do you know, is he out? I thought he was out, but then I think that he went back into prison for some reason, right? Yeah, UFO Watchdog says he couldn't prove one of his claims in court. Yeah, but I'm sure it was still costly, right? John Trouts is here. That's my brother-in-law, actually. Pro wrestler at one time. My brother-in-law, John. He just spent the weekend with us at the cabin, and there's a funny picture of my son waking him up with a Jason mask on and a machete. So that's their Uncle Boo Boo, their favorite uncle, and Xavier loves to prank him. So he's always asking me to help him, and my wife to help prank him. He woke him up as Jason. A lot of fun, right? Alien scientist, that clown kid is uber creepy. Hey, that's my son. He's learning to earn money, right? You know better than me. Your boys are older than me, I think. They're older than mine, Jeremy. Those toys get expensive, so I'm trying to make him work for things so he'll calm down on asking for 8 million toys a week. I mentioned before, he's been watching what I call toy porn. He just watches these shows where they open toys, talk about toys, play with toys, and then he wants them, but he watches so many of them that we can't keep up. He's always finding new stuff, right? Yeah. All right, so, you know, friends, I think that yeah. Matthew Bryant says a UFO scammer involved in real estate scams. Never. UFO Watchdog says, please forgive my 8-byte website from the 90s. Yeah, it's a little outdated, but I'm glad it's there, especially for historical purposes. And like I said, it sure helped wake me up. So everybody has their place at the table. And by the way, while I'm on that subject, I wanted to mention, that this is the time and place that we find ourselves together in. And it's a special place to me. But we're going to be wrapping things up here. I could spend all night here. You know, I love this place that I have found myself in. Mostly because I finally just took my place at the table. You see, along the way of this journey, and you guys have taken it with me, I learned a very important lesson, and that is not to bother to ask for your place at the table, right? Because all these UFO celebrities, the powers that be at this table will always say no. They'll tell you you're not good enough or smart enough or rich enough or you haven't written enough books or done enough lectures. They will always make excuses for why you don't deserve a place at their table. And the truth is that they will do anything to stop you from taking a place at their table and having a voice there, especially if you've got information that they're selling fake stories, right? Especially if you're sharing information that can shatter their often fake stories. If you have proof their stories are fake, then they don't want you at their table. They won't accept you. Instead, they want to silence you and censor you. I will not be silenced or censored. And along this journey, my friends, I learned, no, don't even bother to ask for your place at the table. Just take it. And take it I did. And it's funny to me, after I finally just took my place at that table and there was nothing left to stop me, funny that I'm now considering just walking away from this whole table of insanity forever. Like I said, researching UFOs is like chasing shadows. You just never quite get to anything meaningful. Tantalizing evidence, this might have happened. Tantalizing evidence, this might have happened. But you never get to the goods. In the case of Bob Lazar, we never get to the element 115, friends. We never get those satellite images showing that alien flying saucer base, just as he described, right there on that mountain. No, it's sand and rocks. There's nothing there because Bob Lazar is a fraud and a fake and a convicted pimp and a liar. And anyone selling his story is certainly not without their own sins. And maybe, just maybe, they're selling the story for money. Sometimes I wonder if even they believe it. Or do they know that the story is fake? But it'll sell, so let's keep on selling it. No, friends. I'm not asking for my place at the table. I'm taking it. And if they still try to stop me, I'm going to build my own table. I will not be silenced. I will not be censored. I will not be stopped in my efforts. I will not be intimidated, threatened, or harassed like many people are when they start standing up to this fakery, fraudery that goes on in our so-called UFO community. Let me tell you something. There's no community. There's a bunch of guys at the top of this pyramid scheme of fakery making tons of money, hanging out with criminals, right? People they know are criminals, working for people they know are criminals, hawking fake stories, people with fake backgrounds and fake employment histories they can't prove. It's a cesspool. And I wonder, why am I even here? Like I said, friends, I want to believe. I guess that's why I'm still here. But lately I've been getting more and more burnout and sad that at every turn I find another fake story, another fraud, another profiteer selling a questionable story. Let's just say questionable story, right? No, friends. I don't know what will happen next as far as me. But I do know that I'm not going to ask for my place at the table because that would be foolish. They're never going to let me sit at that table. So I'm just taking my place. And like it or not, I'm here to stay. And some people are going to have to deal with me. Throughout this journey, I have become a hero to some. And for that, I'm thankful. But the real truth is that I have become a villain to others. People don't like, these comforting fairy tales that they've believed in for years. People don't like those illusions being shattered right before their eyes. But everyone, my friends, everyone has their place at this table. And maybe, just maybe, that's my place. And if it is, then so be it. Let me do this work and do it well. Let me help inform people. Let me help people that are too quick to believe these things without any facts or evidence or fact checking. If no one else is going to stand up and say, this story is not true, or I believe this story is not true because here's all the evidence it's not true. Friends, the people selling these stories aren't going to share that evidence with you. I will. So I welcome old friends, and I want to welcome anyone new. Give us a chance. If you really want to get to the truth behind these things, you'll be glad that you did. And I want to remind anybody listening in audio podcast land, you're missing half the fun. Please go over to YouTube. Search for Truthseekers, one word. Look for me, the guy with the strange sunglasses. Click subscribe. Click the notification bell. You'll know about our live shows, and you too can come here. You've heard all the audience interaction that we've had tonight. That's a huge part of what we do here. We welcome you into our live chat because unlike other intellectual weaklings and cowards who simply block people who ask good questions or who show them evidence that their stories may be fake, we don't block people here. We allow open and honest conversations. We want to have a conversation. And all these people that we talked about tonight, George Knapp, Jeremy Corbell, Bob Lazar, Richard Dolan, you're all welcome to come here. And I will be respectful and I will be very nice to you. But it's certainly not my intention to, corner somebody into an interview they don't want to give. Many of these people make their decisions by how many subscribers. Oh, you don't have enough subscribers. I'm not going to sell any books, so they won't come here. Or at least that's the excuse that I hear from some of them. My point being that here we have honest, open discussions. We look at all the evidence, right? We discuss all the evidence. We don't leave out evidence if the story may not be true because we're selling the story. Friends, we're trying to get to the truth. I'm doing my very best here. And I have a lot of help. I want to thank immensely Victor Caliero because this wouldn't have been possible without his kindness. I was like, Victor, please, you got to let me share this and talk about it on my show. It's just so important, right? I think it's just that important. And tonight we got to share it. So very special thanks to him. I think excellent work. Victor can tell you in the live chat where you can find more. And I did put the whole original interview in the description box here of the video. It's important to me, friends, that we recognize those that are helping us actually get to the truth. Victor's not making a dime, right? He's just personally interested and he wants to get to the truth. And I got to tell you, a lot like me, that makes Victor a very dangerous man. Because neither he or I, we don't have, and some of us out here researching these topics, don't have a financial motive to lie to you. And I reason, friends, we saw people sending me some super chats tonight. We have some financial support here, which is great. Because I reason that if these UFO hucksters and celebrities can make all this money selling you lies, maybe some of us can make some money trying to obliterate those lies. Trying to help you see through those lies. And I'm glad that I could do this. I've been receiving so many really nice comments lately. I want to thank everybody for their support and their encouragement. It really means a lot to me because I've been out here in the woods for a long time. A voice in the wind that almost no one was hearing. But lately, friends, things are changing. And if you haven't noticed, as evidenced by our video we posted earlier today of Richard Dolan, it's going to become increasingly more and more difficult for these UFO celebrities to ignore me, my evidence, and my questions. All I want is a conversation. Why won't they have a conversation? Are they cowards? Are they intellectual weaklings whose stories are so weak they cannot withstand debate? or conversation about the evidence in those stories? Kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it, friends? Friends, I'm always happy when there's an audience, and I got to tell you, we had our biggest audience, live audience that we've ever had on any show tonight, and boy, I can't tell you how happy I am when there's an audience. And tonight we had a great one. We listened to a great interview with help from a friend there, Victor Caliero. I think it's the most important interview on Area 51 that I've heard in a decade. Really is important work that he's doing, and so pleased that he would let us share it here on our show. Thank you again, Victor. So until next time, friends, my name is Stephen Cambion, reminding you that sometimes the truth is ugly, but it's still always worth having. Good night, friends.
Truthseekers is a viewer-supported show. Wonderful people like you who enjoy this show send pledges in the form of super chats, super stickers, super thanks, PayPal, or Cash App. Instructions for how to help are in the description. You can also join our Patreon, and for as little as $1 a month you can get extra content. Patreon supporters get a backstage pass, early access to all our production videos before they are distributed publicly, Stephen Cambion's music, private writings, a monthly show journal, and more. You can also become a YouTube channel member for $5 a month. A YouTube membership includes all of the Patreon benefits, plus a special members badge, priority reply to video comments, and the live chat, plus a monthly members-only video. We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors, for supporting Truthseekers. Thank you for your generosity and support. Truthseekers is a viewer-supported show. Now there's a great way to support these broadcasts and show your support. Please be sure and check out our merchandise store. Links to our 2 merchandise online stores are in the links to this video or podcast. The Amazon storefront ships super quickly in the United States, Great Britain, and in many more places. Amazon may not ship to your country or location. If that's the case, hit our second merchandise link in the description and visit our Redbubble storefront. Merchandise from our Redbubble storefront ships worldwide, but may take longer than Amazon. We've got a great deal of super high quality merchandise for you to choose from, including t-shirts, phone cases, sweatshirts, and even pillows. The feedback from our products have been overwhelmingly great. Quality products and fast shipping. People all over the world are buying some merchandise and showing their support of the show. Praise the cash! Praise the cash! Praise the cash! We thank you all, kind and generous benefactors, who are buying some merchandise and helping us to continue this journey. Thanks for being here. This is Truthseekers with your host, Stephen Cambion. Please rate, like, and comment on our videos or podcasts. If you are listening to an audio podcast, please rate us 5 stars to help us rise in the search rankings. If you are watching on YouTube, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. If you're listening to an audio podcast, we love and appreciate you listeners, but you are missing the live tapings. All our shows are recorded live with video feed. We'd love you to come be a part of our live broadcasts and tapings for the podcast. Head on over to YouTube, click the search tool, the little magnifying glass, put Truthseekers, one word in the search bar, and hit enter. You'll see a strange and mysterious guy with sunglasses. That means you found the channel. Go there, smash the subscribe button and hit the notification bell to receive up-to-date info on our YouTube channel. We welcome you to be a part of our live taping and our chat room during the live broadcasts. Seek the truth. Speak the truth. This is Truthseekers. Truthseekers.